Good day to you one and all. It is I, Justin Hawkins, and this is Justin Hawkins Rides Again. I'll just put the old cans on. Yeah, just put them on. Today it's Comments Day. Obviously that's massively exciting. It's the 40th episode of Comments. Incredible. Wherein, of course, I shall react honestly and open-heartedly to a carefully curated selection of your missives. Justin Hawkins rides again. Jacob Beaudry says, how does it feel where you are, Justin? I hope you don't give up anytime soon. Great songs and great web content. Don't quit yet. Thanks, Jacob. How do I feel? How does it feel? I think it feels like what I'm doing here is connecting somehow. Isn't it amazing? It's like I go to get on a plane and then people in the queue for the security when you have to put all your liquids in a bag and stuff. People saying, "Oh, I really love your channel." I was like, "Cool," and I still get people saying that they love the band. I don't know. It's weird to think that this thing has sort of got to the point where I would say more people are talking to me about this than the music. I wasn't expecting that, really. It's a strange feeling. It'll take a little bit of adjusting, I think. But I had a long chat with Rick Beato the other day, and that's an interview that we're going to release on here at some point. And it was fascinating to sort of imagine that you can have a career like that that's creative and it's musical, and then these sort of peripheral elements of that can so dilute the enjoyment of the music that you end up doing stuff like this and only doing stuff like this because this is what you want to do. I'm not at that point yet. I want to do both, but I think that do you know that expression, a curate's egg? And it's from the 1800s or something. It was like an egg that's I can't remember what the story is now. There's a curate, and he's eating an egg, and he's too polite to tell the host that that it's gone rotten. But so he says, "Oh, only bits of it are spoiled." So he eats the egg and tries to eat around the bits that have gone rotten. But a curate's egg is something where there's rotten bits in it that spoils or mars the overall experience of eating the egg. I think that's what being like a successful musician is like. There's stuff that you have to deal with and things that you have to do that sort of can taint the actual enjoyment of the pure creativity and the music and the stuff that made you want to do it in the first place. And then you get stuff like this, which is just me waffling. I don't know, I love it. I can do it all day long, really. So fear not, Jacob, I won't be giving up anytime soon. It may be somewhat of a curate's egg, but I love it. And I love you too. Nice one. Robin Wallace says, I know you're playing bigger places with Blackstone Cherry next year, but do you miss them or medium places? I think you're really reliant on production in a bigger, like an arena or stadium show. When you play in arenas and bigger places, it's more or less just a box, and so everything that you see, like the staging, the rigging, the lights, and all of that stuff, it's more or less a blank canvas, But the trouble is, you have to bring it all with you. So you have to think carefully about how the thing's going to look, and you have to get the right people in to make sure that it works. Whereas I think if you play in those medium places, there's a lot more variety between one medium-sized place and another. When I say medium places, I'm thinking of things like theatres, lovely theatres. Oh, the plaster's crumbling off the walls. Oh, imagine the history of those floorboards of. And they often have sloping floors, or they won't have sloping floors. There'll be balconies, or there won't be balconies. There'll be royal boxes. You never know what you're going to get with those things, and that's part of the thrill of it. So to answer your question, I like all of it. I really do. Jacob, but I'm really looking forward to those arena shows next year. Come see us. M says, Justin, aren't you at the sweet spot right now? A solid fan base, but enough privacy for you and your family. Precisely, M. This is precisely the truth. I think Our fan base is somewhat of a cult following. It might even be, I don't know, slightly bigger than a cult following. We've just done some brilliant touring in Australia, and we did a lot of touring in America, and we've always got stuff to do, and an appreciative audience that understands what we're about, which is more than anybody can wish for, really. And again, as you said, enough privacy for me and my family. You know, that's actually a huge part of it. So yeah, sweet spot. This is the sweet spot, guys. Welcome to the sweet spot. Welcome to the sweet spot. You got loads of privacy. You can do as many gigs as you like and people will come to see you. No, it doesn't rhyme. Andrew Metcalf asks, possibly for another show, can you elaborate on how musicians actually make a living in 2022? Do you take a salary from the band, for example? Do you get paid per gig or per tour? Do musicians actually make money from the same single album tour method anymore? Thanks in advance, and I love the channel. Cheers, Andrew. That's a really interesting question. I think everybody does it differently. I know some musicians who do like... they don't pay themselves anything until they go on a tour, and then at the end of a tour they count it all up and share it out, and then they all make good money. But I don't know how much of a robust kind of business structure that would be when something like COVID comes along. I know there's a lot of bands that do that thing where they have a touring company and a licensing company. So the licensing company handles things like the records and like who owns what. When a label puts your record out, you're licensing the recording to them to be able to manufacture it and do that. So that's one business entity, and like anything that's sort of related to that and the product that you're selling, I suppose, would come into this business, and you'd pay yourself dividends and wages or whatever. And then you'd have another business, which is the touring company. And then that's the one that handles anything to do with, like, you know, covering the overheads to put a show on in the first place, paying tech wages, hiring equipment and lights and other sound reinforcement stuff. And they're two very separate entities, I think. And, you know, one of them is to do with the product and the other one is to do with the service. That's how it works, I think. But I don't think it's possible to actually make a remark on how musicians make a living. They're all different. You know, some people just have monetized sort of TikTok and YouTube revenue streams, and everybody is side hustling all over the place because that's the only way you can do it now. You used to be able to just rely on record sales. It ain't like that anymore, I tell you. I tells you. But I don't know. It's always been a hustle. It's a tough business and a noble profession, but it's ultimately a hustle. And thanks for your comment anyway. Josh Barris says, love the channel, Justin. Would you say being in a band with your brother presented challenges that aren't there with other members, or does it make it easier to work more efficiently? Well, I think that depends entirely on the nature of your communication within the band itself. I think there's times when if you're sort of conflict averse and you don't want to upset your brother because you care about him too much, you can perhaps hold on to things and harbour sort of doubts about the material or the process that you would otherwise express. You know, if it's somebody you just met, you go, oh, I don't like that bit, can you do that bit instead, you know? And so you can end up with brothers are either conflict averse or they're just fighting all the time because they enjoy fighting, and that's part of the way that sort of relationship presents itself, really. So it can be a blessing and a curse, I think. And as with anything, it's possible to turn it all into positive stuff and be creative and just have fun with it, I think. Being in a band with my brother, I wouldn't want to do it any other way. I love being in a band with my brother. It's the best. It's really the best. Edward Marcus with another super thanks. Cheers, Edward. So do you think your career or life may have been different if the Darkness hired a different frontman, leaving you to play guitar? That's a really good question. I wonder who else would be suitable for this role. I feel like the Darkness has always had me as the singer, but obviously Dan, Frankie and I were in a band before. We had another singer and we spent 2 years trying to replace him. So I wasn't really considered in those days, but I was sort of playing keyboards and additional guitar in those days. And I'd love to be just a guitar player in a band. If there are any brilliant frontmen out there with everything necessary to take over the world, but not the lead guitarist, hit me up. So all that remains now, and thanks for your comments, all that remains now is to thank wholeheartedly the super thanks people. That's Jenny, Emma Young, Moon Beanification, Truffle Huffer, John Littlefair, David Wills, Evil Stuff, Jeremy Carr, Brian, Lorna Kay, John S. Free, Teddy Bears for Life, Luis Horatio Vasallo, The Goods Gone, Kenny Bob Gibson, Brian Cremins, Eunice Davies, Brad Walsham, Dan Deavy, Joe Symes, Edward Marcus, Brian Kelleher, Shake, Rattle and Roll, Edward Watson, Fernando Benavides, Sweet Pandora, Michael James Gilbert, Alejandra O, Bonnie Donovan, Brandon Tuck, Matt Bickford, Mr. S, Jan Muller, Dustin Beasley, Chester Scott, Raw Music TV, Matt Jackson, the band Naked Image, Jason Lizowski, Strange Device, Into the Depths, The Video Lounge, Stephanie Arts, Tom Struct, Bluesiflustra, I always struggle with that one, but thank you. The Funeral Director's Daughter, Vincent Damone, The Squid Gal, Steph Gordon, Ashton, Tom Keteri, John Frisch, and MJ and ATX. Thanks a million, guys. You'll never know how much it means to me. You'll never know how much it means to me. You'll never know how much it means to me. Justin Hawkins rides again. Again. Oh, excuse me. Again. Don't forget to like, subscribe, hit the bell for notifications, and watch one of these 2 videos. Thanks for your comments, guys. Keep them coming, and I'll keep answering. Honestly. Cheers.